For most of us, we just accept that paying taxes comes along with earning money. This isn't necessarily the case for the wealthy, however. There's a strategy being used by some wealthy individuals called the buy, borrow, die strategy. And what it does is to allow them to grow wealth and access cash with minimal to zero tax burden. Let's uncover how this strategy works so you can see how you can apply it and benefit your own financial situation. Step one of the buy, borrow, die strategy is to buy assets that appreciate or grow in worth. In this step, you're going to buy assets that increase in value over time, like stocks, real estate, a business, or even cash value life insurance. By holding on to these assets as they grow, you benefit in two ways. The first is wealth growth. As the value of your assets grows, so does your net worth. The second benefit is that you don't pay taxes immediately. You are not taxed on assets that increase in value unless you sell them. This is known as unrealized gains. So as long as you hold on to these assets, you don't pay taxes on their growth. For example, if you bought $10,000 worth of stock that grew to $100,000 in value, you wouldn't owe taxes on that gain until you decided to sell them. So wealthy people hold their assets instead of selling and allow their wealth to grow without having to pay capital gains tax. The next step in the buy, borrow, die strategy is to borrow against your assets. So in this step, when you need cash, rather than selling your assets off, which would count as income and trigger taxes, you could borrow against those assets. So this is a popular tool with the wealthy for several reasons. First, they don't have to pay taxes on loans. Loans are not considered income, so borrowing against your assets would not result in a tax bill. Second, their investments can keep growing. So by not selling your assets or your investments, they continue to grow in value. And the third is the double dipping potential. So let's think about it. You can use loan money to invest in more assets, effectively using the same funds in two places. Let's break it down. For example, if you own $100,000 in stocks, you could take out a $50,000 loan using your portfolio as collateral. Not only do you avoid taxes, but you still own the stocks that are in that portfolio, and you can still benefit from them as they grow. At the same time, you have been able to purchase even more stocks with those loan dollars that were backed by your original stocks. So you may be thinking, this doesn't do me any good. I don't have a stock portfolio to borrow against. But you don't have to have a large stock portfolio to implement this step in the strategy. If you're interested in implementing the strategy for you and your family, there are other types of loans that you can consider. One would be a home equity line of credit, or a HELOC, which would involve borrowing against your equity if you owned property. The second would be a business line of credit, where business owners can borrow against their business's value. But keep in mind that borrowing does come with risk, especially if your assets decrease in value, and always consider the cost and risk before taking out a loan. The final step in the buy, borrow, die strategy happens when the owner of the assets passes away and leaves those assets to his or her heirs. When you pass away and leave your assets to your heirs, the IRS allows what's called a step up in basis. This means that the cost basis of the asset is reset to its current market value. For example, if you bought a property for $100,000 20 years ago, and it's worth $1 million at the time of your death, even though your heirs inherit the property at the $1 million value, they wouldn't have to pay taxes on that $900,000 capital gain. For them, the property is treated as if they've acquired it at a $1 million cost. This step up in basis means that your heirs could sell the property with minimal to no capital gains tax, because they would only have to pay capital gains tax on any amount over the $1 million step up basis. So your heirs get to inherit wealth without facing the same tax burden that you would have if you had sold the assets during your lifetime. This is the most impactful part of the buy, borrow, die strategy for those who are looking to build wealth and pass it on. Now, we do need to acknowledge that there are potential risks inherent to this strategy. First is the interest cost on loans. Borrowing against assets still incurs interest, which could be a burden if the rate is high or if the market fluctuates. There's also market risk. If your assets lose value, you could be required to either repay the loan in full, or you may lose the asset backing the loan. And finally, while capital gains can be avoided, estate taxes still apply to large estates. The buy, borrow, die strategy is most effective for those with substantial assets and long-term wealth goals, but that doesn't mean that it's out of reach for the rest of us. Generational wealth has to start somewhere with someone, and it may as well be you. So if you're considering this strategy, you should definitely consult with a team of professionals, including a financial planner, an attorney, and a tax professional. I hope you learned something new and found value in this video. If so, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the bell icon so you don't miss out on more tax saving tips and strategies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.